welcome to the Sims 4 Medieval mini-series of medieval builds. Today I'm starting on the Sunborne Fortress, the castle that I'm making in my game for my Sims 4 royalty. I will not really be playing as the royalty, but I felt I wanted to just go ahead and make a castle, mostly because it was fun to make the castle. But as we're going through, you'll see a lot of different things that I try to play with here to make it a little bit more medieval. I did try to speed it up because this was a very big build, and that is part of why this is also going to be cut into different parts. This is just the exterior for now. I'm not completely sure if the interior will be all one video or split into two as well, but regardless, this is like a little mini-series within the mini-series, so I hope you guys enjoy. Please like and subscribe if you do. So I spent a lot of time on the facade of this build, mostly because... I need to stop saying mostly because. I say that a lot. Anyways, I just think that it's one of those things that helps to emphasize more of that medieval aspect. If you get the facade right, then most likely you're going to get the rest of the build looking right. That being said, I did spend like forever deciding the shape of the build, so you will see me like cut out a lot of parts, especially of little more finicky type things, where I'm just adjusting slight little bits. I did try to keep most of the roofing in here, because I know that in general that's usually a hard thing for just about anyone to do, and I don't know, I just was happy to show everyone that, hey, this is how you do roofing for this castle. So at least maybe if you download it, you understand how I set up the roofing, and then you can go in yourself and do that. So, yeah. Deciding the color for this build took a little bit longer than I thought. You see it a lot faster here, but as I ended up cutting out a lot where like I kept going back to the roof and like trying to change the colors and changing back to the normal color and then coming back again. But I finally kind of decided on this more reddish color. Whenever I was looking at medieval builds, a lot of them had that reddish, more terracotta looking roof for the medieval style, or it was like a dark brown, and I felt like the orangish reddish color kind of suited the castle a little bit better. You can also see me going through here and starting to add a little bit of wear and tear to the castle itself. I made sure that like I had greenery just about everywhere. I started adding little the wallpaper from the Castle Estate kit. I found the one where it kind of slowly it gets dirty as it goes down, so I grabbed that one and made sure to put that in. And then I started working more on the castle gates and the actual outside of the castle. I think windows are my biggest issue in trying to build in the medieval style. We do have the castle windows, so I eventually just kind of gave up and pretty much only used castle windows after a certain point on this build. But for any other build that I'm doing, the peasant homes, the manors, any of that, I have so much trouble deciding what looks like a medieval window and fits in with style. Luckily, I usually end up being able to kind of use the castle estate windows for manors as well, but peasant homes, I'm almost always completely lost. So yeah, you just see me struggling with windows constantly in this series. So this is about whenever I started figuring out what the crest was, or the family crest of the royal family. I also decided to start messing with the flag, see if there's sort of consistency that I could see across them. I did end up going with like 2 different flags. One is the ones that you see here on the castle wall, and there's also ones that you see once we get more into the build that is like the sun and the white banner from Batu, I believe. Journey to Batu, that pack. You can download it and it just won't have those banners in it if you don't have Journey to Batu. I understand that's kind of a hard pack to have, and I think a few of the plants I also added from Journey to Batu. However, I did have a lot of different ideas concerning the banners, and I felt like I really needed that crest. So those parts I think are going to be, specifically the crest, is going to be all over the build. So So this is whenever I actually started adding in a little bit of a moat, because I feel like every castle deserves to have a moat. That being said, it's not the best moat in the world. I kind of figured the castle walls were more of the defense than the moat after working on it. I just didn't quite have enough room on the lot to have an actual moat going around the entire wall, so I just added little water patches eventually. But the front, as you can see, has quite a bit of a moat, so at least there's that. You can see me also start to go into Bite-A-Bug here, just to try to figure out exactly how I'm going to make the moat look better, because as you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the wall there, there's some clipping going on with the ground and the wall, and this is me trying to cover it up as these bushes. I'm pretty sure these bushes just stay the rest of the time, and they are in the final part of the build because they hit it so well. As I am going, I'm also finding trees, different things that I like or I don't like. I finally ended up switching up this entranceway to being closer to what you guys are seeing in the finished version of the build. So I don't know if you guys can tell by the end result of the build there in the beginning, I do start going absolutely insane with vines during this. Right now you're just seeing me add shrubbery around the outside, but like you saw a few of the vines that I added, and then I was like, okay, I need to cover up that bit on the wall a little bit better, so I started looking through the rocks, trying to find something. Ended up finding this one from, I believe, Get Together. That worked really well, and I just started placing that everywhere because it looked the best and it worked with the aesthetic of the castle. But after this is whenever I just start getting really into vines, and whenever I say really into vines, I mean really into vines. I'm placing them everywhere, all over the build. Whenever you think I'm done placing vines, I end up going back in and placing even more vines. So something about the vines in this build were just something I had to have everywhere. I could not have no vines on any surface. So this is the beginning of me placing vines everywhere, like the actual beginning of me placing vines everywhere. As you can see, I start adding a ton, and here's some vine, there's some vine, here's some more vine, and it just keeps going. That's what you're going to see for like 10 or so minutes, basically, and a lot longer, probably hours longer, if I kept the actual footage of all of the vines I added to the build. I did try to limit myself eventually, but like it took me a while to get to that limiting function on the vines because it just made it look so much prettier whenever I was adding the vines. It looked more overgrown, looked a little bit more medieval, little more like it's not quite as upkept as castle should be. But yeah, and then this is me starting to add in the courtyard and going in and actually doing the like the front yard and the backyard, so to speak, of the castle. As you can see here, I start adding in a gazebo, but I wasn't quite sure exactly what I wanted other than there just being a gazebo and like a nice little place to sit next to the courtyard. So that was kind of my intentions for this, but I had to cut a lot of the footage of me building the gazebo, mostly because the camera had a lot of trouble because I was trying to keep up the walls while I was building it so I could see what was going on around me, and then it would just cause the camera to constantly jitter up and down. So as I'm going through, it's just a constant mayhem of me trying to do things and the camera becoming a little bit more insane. Then you can see me adding in a fountain in the courtyard. I originally was thinking that the courtyard is going to be a place for the knights, and I understand that the fountain doesn't quite make sense for that, but they can just fight around the fountain or throw each other in, you know, whatever. It looks pretty, so that was my goal. So I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I do get to a point where like I notice that the gazebo, like the outer bit here with the stone, is floating. So I go in and I try to like put a ton of plants around it just so that way it doesn't show it, and then I put greenery over it as well to make it a little bit more leafy and make a little more sense why there's vinery and grass and flowers everywhere. This is whenever I start going in and actually messing with the castle walls a little bit more, making the interior a little bit more seamless, make a little bit more sense, make sure people can get up and down the towers. I thought about using stairs, but I definitely tried to mess with the stairs for a while, and just for the life of me couldn't figure out how to make it work within the space I had, so I used mostly ladders. The ladders are not the prettiest thing in the world. My goal, honestly, wasn't to be concerned about the castle walls so much as like just you go in and you can access the top of the tower, or you can do whatever you want to do and move things around as you need without trouble, or with as little trouble as possible. I also tried to, there is some vinery sticking through the walls, and that's why I also don't really show a lot of the other areas being able to get into on the bottom floor, is because I know that the vinery and the greenery is sticking through all the castle walls, so I just kind of left that one mostly alone, made sure it looked a little bit better even with the greenery sticking in, and then the rest of it was kind of hidden, and I didn't add entrances to the rest of it. can see here, I started working on the other side of the courtyard at the front, and this is whenever I decided that there should probably be stables in the front entrance. So I kind of rework this part of this area a little bit differently. Just because I feel like, a lot of people would be riding their horses here, or if you had a diplomat and they had their horses, and just even the royal horse stables. Now, I didn't make a huge stables, I made it like 2 different horse pens, and that was really all I added. But I figure storytelling-wise, you can at least show like, hey, there's stables here. So, this side has... One of the sides has it opened the elements outside just because of the way that the fence along the wall works and the way that the roofing works. It would glitch into the wall and kind of erase it. So I did try to go back in and I added a ceiling, I think, to it, but it still didn't work very well. And this is just me rearranging it so that way it makes more sense on there being a way to access the stables. This is where I start getting vine crazy again. I actually ended up cutting this up a little bit again because I didn't realize how many vines I added to the interior wall. I did really only add these vines in the areas that you can kind of see the wall still, because it just made very little sense for there not to be vines on this side of the wall, but vines on the other side of the wall, in my opinion. So I went through, made sure that there was vinery, flowers, all the pretty things going on. And then shortly you'll see me start to do that for the back of the plot as well. In the back of the plot, I decided this was the perfect place to be kind of the servants' areas, but also to have a beautiful fountain and just a nice little seated area as well that the royals could go and sit at, and that's kind of private. That being said, I did lean more towards the idea of this being the servants' area. There's a well, the idea that they have to go get water from that well, and there's some fake potted plants that I got from Bite-A-Bug that I added that looked very nice and looked well kept, and kind of like what you would probably see at a castle, more so for keeping the ingredients that they grow at the castle. As we're coming closer to the end now, I'm going through and I'm starting to add lamps and lanterns and just different candle lights to make it so that you can go through at nighttime and see it all pretty and majestic. I even added a few lights under the fountain there to make it glow a little bit. So for the past few minutes you can see me jumping around a lot because I'm finishing up the outside of the build, so it's ready to go ahead and be posted on gallery in this stage. That means adding last minute vinery that I realized, oh, this would look a lot better if there was something there, adding trees to the back, adding just different things, going ahead and setting up the inside as a basis. This is when I tried the stairs for the towers. But this is just me setting up the layout as well a little bit, so that way whenever I post it to the gallery, you guys can follow somewhat of the idea of a layout. I did not fully do the layout in this one, that doesn't come until I do the interior, but I did at least start it, so that way you guys can go in and edit it, and I fixed up the towers, so that way they were actually rooms. Okay, so we're about done with the build part here. Let's go ahead and jump into live mode so I can show you the outside of the castle, maybe give you a little sneak peek of the inside. Hi everyone, and welcome to live mode. We are joined by my sim Talia Presley here, who I created randomly in the hopes that I could show you guys this in live mode. So this is what the exterior is looking like here in live mode. As you can see, very big castle walls, got stuff going all around it. I imagine you can delete some of the vines and stuff if you notice that it's causing some issues with your PC. But I would not get rid of the bushes or the rocks if you're able to, just because that will get rid of like more of that illusion of hiding the glitch that's happening underneath here. Yeah, let's go ahead and go into tab mode. So we got this beautiful grand entrance going into the castle here, and let's make sure that I have everything going. Okay. We have this beautiful castle entrance here. If I do say so myself, I am the one that created it, so I'm a little, biased, I would say. Got some knights in the entryway here, and then down this long corridor all the way down there is where you can go up the ladders to the top of the wall. And then if you head out here, we have our stables on the side here, and they are all decorated on the inside. I mean, as decorated as I'm going to get with it, honestly. And then you head over this way, and let's head into this area first, actually. So over here we have a beautiful little gazebo with all the flowers, and I think that I managed to hide pretty well the little glitch that was happening with the floating gazebo going on there. And then over here, you can see a little peek of the inside, and the one that's the shell that you download, you won't see this inside bit here decorated. But from this point of view, you get a little sneak peek of that, and then you head over this way, and we have a courtyard here. Now the courtyard's very bare minimum, very basic. I'm also showing you this without my CC installed for it because I figured the castle would be best used by everyone if I didn't have random CC for the building process like I did with the Farmer's Hall. Alright, let's head back over to the other side of the garden here. So we have the entrance right over there. We head in here, and we have this beautiful little area that just leads through over to more so the servant section or the back section of the garden. We have a well to get some water, and we have a little garden and clothing line for the servants. And then back over this way, we have a nice little hideaway spot that they can just anyone can go to kind of get away from party or whatever's happening in there, and you access that through here. Again, a nice little oh no. Again, a nice little area that I have decorated a little bit, but you will not, but just gives you that little bit of a sneak peek. Now, the rooftop, you're seeing a sneak peek of the finished product right now. The rooftop is not done in the other save, so you won't have this fountain, and you won't have the crypt or any of the stuff that's up here if you download the shell. Okay, and so that is the build of the Sun Fortress shell. It is available in my gallery under Dreamer Blah, but my name is Matt Catter on my YouTube channel. My name on the gallery is Dreamer Blah. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe.